Hello, my friends, and welcome to September Trials for Overwatch Contenders. My name is Bull Skunk alongside Thibbledork, and I'm excited to get this week started. We're starting off with a heck of a match here, Thibble.
Yeah, this is a banger match. Hashtag live evil. We're looking at Team Doge over here taking on a slightly reformed Kratos, only slightly. Some little changes, of course. This is tier 2.5. Changes are to be expected. But that said, overall fairly consistent between these two rosters. But that means that we have plenty to talk about because we can actually more accurately predict what the heck these guys are going to be doing.
Yeah, I think most noticeable change from Cratos is that we no longer see Maxwell in the DPS lineup. It is Ultima Wep coming in. And you were telling me this guy's got a long history in Overwatch.
Yeah, I mean, Ultimate Web has frankly been playing off and on, I would say, since 2016. The first team listed on his Liquipedia page, which is, of course, the holy gospel of Overwatch information, was Team Method, most notably known for their world firsts in World of Warcraft and things like that. They did attempt an Overwatch team long ago and far away in the before times. That didn't work, so he went on to join Bermuda, who were formed in the aftermath of Mirage Esports Electronique, which was a French Canadian team. And after Bermuda kind of fell apart and got lost, he then joined Noble, who have recently gone through some swaps. So he's been riding the wave here in Tier 2, not that he plays for Malibu. And now he has found his way on to Kratos after coming back in May after a few months break. So an extremely veteran presence on this team. I'm very curious to see how he slots into this team system.
We're keeping a sharp eye on Ultima Web. Also, new changes for Kratos. We got Specs coming in the tank lineup. Borkin is still around, still on the roster, but Specs perhaps more of a Sigma specialist or something that they could need to round out their roster. So Specs will be starting for him here today. And then Alexio coming in as you may notice that Gunther is no longer here with Kratos. Alexio will be the support to come in and replace him to accompany 6 feet and trying to keep Kratos alive and standing. Not a whole lot of changes from Doge, at least not since we saw him in the August tournament. Of course, you did had Aspen is one of the newcomers, and we'll have Naga and Hybrid in the damage role for those guys. Elivote returned into the team in the off tank as he makes his grand return to what was formerly Team Envy, and now back on Doge.
Right. Yeah. Lots of full circles coming around. Specs used to play on Revival very shortly. I don't think he played there when Aspen was there. At least not as far as I can recall. But at the same time, they're being put together regardless. The Fates had other plans for them. And in general, I'm very interested to see Team Doge's roster isn't quite as deep as Kratos is. They have who are running 3 tanks and 3 supports in possible combination. But really, the execution of when they're going to swap in those players on those roles is kind of the big question for me today. Obviously, the meta has been in weird places lately, at least in ranked, and then how is that going to shake out in trials, obviously. So you got to keep an eye on how these teams start to deploy those depth players, those specialists perhaps, given the whims of the meta.
Yeah, speaking of meta, we are on the live patch. Well, the one that was live prior to today.
Yeah.
So we do get the shield nerfs, but we don't quite have all the DPS nerfs here in this patch this week, as we are going to start off on Nepal in this best of 5 set, first to 3 set.
Yeah, we were thinking about having them play live for the patch that went live like 30 minutes ago, but figured that might be a bit cruel.
That
So
could be a little cruel, sir.
yeah, we're gonna, I
We're kind of a
enjoy.
little slack.
Right. I like bringing mayhem here and there, but generally only for my job and not for casting and trials. So we're going to let them play on the older new patch. And we'll wait and see when the most recent changes to DPS heroes are integrated into the competitive format. But we are starting off here on Nepal Sanctum, which might be my favorite section submap, I suppose, of Nepal. One, because it has huge holes to throw people down, and 2, just because
Always
the
fun.
structure of the map, yeah, right. The structure of the map really allows for some niche picks and lots of flexibility, lots of Overwatch rock paper scissors, as it were. So we'll have to see how these two kind of start counterplaying into one another in what is very often a hectic phase of Nepal.
Yeah, you got a lot of small corridors and then the big open area with the objective itself, which can be very difficult to hold just by standing on point. So you either want to push way forward and really get in the face of your opponents, or sit back and try to play the range. It's kind of tough to play the in-between with, you risk getting knocked into that void.
Right, yeah. Setting up these mid-range compositions on point can be tricky when there's so much displacement present. Teams rolling out here, not quite a mirror, interestingly, especially at the tank line. We've got a Winston for Salieri, which is a favored hero of his, and a Wrecking Ball for Specs, which I imagine is just his style.
But that will be the only difference between the two comps. Both teams running the Tracer Sombra. And just big rotations from everybody right out of the gate. Little ring around the Sanctum. Hack comes down onto Specs. Wrecking Ball, a lot of danger when he can't roll around and do his displacement thing. Yeah, Ultimate Web in the back, keeping things going, and finds 2 kills. Finds one, the other one credited to Crawley. There start things off strong. Moira and Winston missing here for Team Doge.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that the hack onto the Wrecking Ball is a little more impactful, but ultimately the hack onto A Fox on the Moira actually prevented some extra burst healing from the Biotic Orb, which helped Cratos take down Salieri a little bit quicker. Winston doesn't have quite as much mobility once his jump cooldown is down, so that ends up being a quick early pick and an early first capture for Cratos.
13% in, counting on the board. Ultimo with a Pulse Bomb. Not much else to speak of in the ult department. You do have Hybrid with a Pulse Bomb as well. Ultimo gets hacked once again. Fox the target for default. They're trying to take down the Moira, settle for a Pulse Bomb onto Naga instead. Take Doge's Sombra off the playing field, and now Doge caught in a small room, getting burned down by a Coalescence. Salieri and Elivote both fall under the pressure.
Right, and that Pulse Bomb from Ultima Web was actually stuck onto Elivote, and Naga was just unfortunately a little bit too close. So maybe some positioning misplays that he might have liked back in another life and another timeline. That said, both teams coming online with quite a few ultimates here. The Coalescence could be a good initiator, but we'll have to see how the EMPs shake out between one another. Default has the advantage there.
Naga just catching up on the tail end, able to get that EMP on the line. Perhaps can pull the trigger before Default open this thing up for Doge to try to get some percentage started here. And so far, this has been all Cratos. It is Hybrid winning the Tracer duel. Now turning the attention on to the Diva. Crawley gets D-Mech taken out. Just a Moira left on point for Doge gets this flip.
Yeah, I mean, the EMP was effective in that it got 3 people hacked, but ultimately there was a bit too much composure coming out from Team Doge to really feel the heat from it, as it were. The initial picks coming out were obviously very well timed. Even if half your team is hacked, if you have a man advantage and you're stuck together on point with some good healing coming through, there's not going to be enough follow-up to really get value out of that ultimate. Most importantly, though, Team Doge held on to almost all of their ultimates. Coalescence builds so fast, so you don't mind burning that, but otherwise they have all 6, and here goes the EMP.
EMP just finds the 1 and doesn't find 6. He's able to get the sound barrier out. Specs is going to go ahead and invest the mines to try to protect the team, and that'll take down Hybrid, but Crawley has fallen. It's a 5v5 here in Kratos' entryway. Now Alexio going to go ahead and invest the Coalescence, get the team out of the small hallway. Self-destruct invested by Team Doge, but just holding off Cratos momentarily. Oh, the boop! And Specs goes down into the well, does not have the hook to swing out. Aspen credited with a pair of kills. Help Doge hang on.
Aspen is a Lucio after my own heart. She's always been such a fantastic and flexible support player. You might consider her more of a main support given her heroes, but really she's been able to swap onto pretty much anything. And I think we may have forgotten with the double flex support meta being so popular, but her Lucio is nothing to shake at.
Oh, and the Coalescence Pulse Bomb combo just makes short work of Cratos in that fight. And Doge bouncing back with a strength here. One that we were expecting. We're expecting Doge to go a long way here in this first week of Trials. It's the first time we've seen him in Trials since their inception in early May.
Right. I mean, and they were only there because they had to be, because they were a newly formed team in the ashes of Team Envy's disassembly. Obviously, they pushed straight through, and they've been doing well ever since. This is frankly the lowest they've ever been, but if they're playing like this at their lowest, I would hate to see them at their highest.
They used a lot of ult in that last fight. It's going to leave things open for Default to EMP. I think he got Salieri, but that was it. They do find that kill. Elevote falls as well, so no more takes standing for Doge. Specs, who is swapped over to the Hog, now trying to lay control on the point, not allow Doge to get anywhere near. With the overtime wick burning, Kratos will find this flip.
So obviously Doge maintained a 99%. It's nothing really to complain about from their end, but they weren't able to really stagger out their ultimates well enough to maintain an advantage and secure the round right away. Kratos had the easy advantage on that fight, come in with an EMP, and here we go.
3-man EMP from the other side. Crowd's going to throw the self-destruct in and try to deny follow-up, but Specs already down. 6 feet falls as well. Now Doge turning their attention on to Crawley, who's just getting lower and lower. Somehow backs out, is able to stay alive. Ultimate Web trying to invest the Pulse Bomb, but finds nada and ends up getting taken out by Salieri. And now the dueling laser beams over the objective. Both Moiras coming up with a kill. Salieri is going to drop the Primal Rage as Team Doge gets the point flipped over. Now they just got to clean it off, take this opening round.
Simple enough. There was really only one fight there for Doge where they didn't have an ult advantage, and it was pretty much the one fight they lost. Oh, towards the latter half of that round anyway. Obviously, Kratos starting off pretty strong before kind of burning out towards the end, though that was certainly a close round. I'm very curious to see, though, if Kratos can start to understand when they have a more concrete ultimate advantage and really take advantage of that, and also understand, hey, let's only use this to win this fight. Because the key, especially on these control rounds, which tend to be a little shorter, is being able to maintain your advantage for as long as possible in as many fights as possible. And Doge obviously came out on top there. They had more fights where the ultimates were in their favor and where they were getting more value off of their EMPs from Naga versus from default. So let's see how they maintain that as we swap to a Pharah Mercy style from Team Doge.
And I think decisiveness is the key in that, and how you use your ultimates, who you are targeting with those ultimates as well. Both Tracers lighten up the kill feed early, finding a tank apiece. As we see, Kratos has swapped over to the Zarya Hog combination. Naga laid in a nice direct from downtown. Takes Ultimate Web out of the fight. Doge going to move on and try to get first control started here, but there's still a couple remaining members of Kratos left to deal with. You got both supports and both tanks trying to take up residence.
A 3-word horror story for Tier 2 players across the world is Naga on Pharah. He is quite possibly the best Pharah in Contenders in the world right now, which is not a sentiment I make lightly given the caliber of Pharah players in Korea and China. But consistently, when he gets to play that hero, he has been lights out. That said, the first capture rather actually does go over to Kratos. I think just their Deathball style utilize cover and take advantage of the angles that Defense Matrix allows you sort of style, mitigates the effectiveness of the Pharah a bit. And the Barrage did not get much value either, despite it being built so quickly. So Doge still had their work cut out for them, despite the advantage, perhaps, that Naga might give them on that hero.
Hybrid trying to work in through Kitchen, but is running in to default. So he's keeping a sharp eye, keeping him in check. Pulse Bomb goes out into the middle from Hybrid, but that one... Well, it was Ultimas that got eaten up, and Hybrids found nada, so both Pulse Bomb going to waste. But Kratos finding themselves caught in a tiny corner. Huge ante onto the Royhawk, followed by a nice sleep. And Kratos just forced to get the heck out of Dodge and relinquish control at this point.
I mean, this composition is definitely a huge amount of comfort picks for Team Doge. Aafox on the Ana is another 3-word horror story for Tier 2 players across the world, getting great value off the anti-nades. Hybrid has been everywhere, and his tracking, even on these small hitbox heroes like Moira, has been, frankly, phenomenal. He's applying so much pressure onto the backline here, and it really leaves Kratos in a catch-22. Do we focus on Naga, who's dealing huge amounts of damage from the air? Do we swap maybe to a McCree to try and counter that in some way? Or do you have to deal with that Tracer wreaking havoc in your backline?
Naga gets to the nano, here comes the barrage! Right over the top, that's going to get at least one Defense Matrix out to catch the rest, but a third of Kratos was already back in spawn. Naga raining rockets from above with absolute precision, keeping Doge in this fight.
So obviously a great fight win there for Doge, but maybe a little more expensive than they like. They invest 3 ultimates there, including both of their supports, and Kratos have 5 ultimates coming online. So it's certainly very even. It's nothing to panic about. But if Kratos can win this fight cheaply, maybe with just an EMP bomb, then they could be in a really good position to take this round. That said, the bomb does not get much of anything.
No, EMP does find 3, and Salieri falls immediately. Great focus fire to take the Winston out of the fight. Elevate's going to get burned down by the Coalescence, and Kratos will win the fight, but it's just as you were fearing. Very expensive fight for Kratos indeed. 6 feet does manage to hold onto that sound barrier.
which is huge and can help them build up towards the whole hog and definitely towards the coalescence, which builds very fast. But almost in the same way, sure, that's a win for Kratos, but now they're looking at an ultimate disadvantage. Maybe not as big as the other way around because the sound barrier is frankly massive. But coming up on both take ultimates and a barrage into this next fight, or even the one after that, could mean that Doge have enough to finish out this round and take the map.
Kratos just needs to hold Doge off for one more fight. Can they do it? Good kill on a hybrid and Aspen to start things off. A strong start here for what could be Doge's last opportunity to take this round. Not this map, but this round at least. Naga getting taken down with the barrage in hand as the overtime wig starts to burn, and it's just all red jerseys on this point. Salieri's going to go ahead and invest Primal Rage, try to stick around, try to buy as much time for reinforcements to get back into this fight. Hybrid gets hacked up, deleted. Overtime wick is deleted as well. We're tied up here in Nepal.
Definitely. Crazy close rounds all the way through. Crowley and Default make for a hell of a duo, a hell of a couple of bruisers just kind of running around, picking and hacking people. There's not a whole lot you can do against it when you're... it's the classic meme of stunned, hacked, frozen, shattered, CC, dead. Like, the two of them combined makes for such a ridiculous duo on those two heroes, not only because of the damage they can put out, but because the way they can completely shut down pretty much any one person they can get their hooks on. So... solid early picks for cheap, most importantly, to start out that last fight, and they were able to build that into an ultimate advantage that they didn't even need to use. They finished that round with 3 ultimates online, so that's the kind of cleanliness that you really need to finish out a round of control, and it's absolutely what they'll need to bring here on Shrine if they want to bring this back and win map 1.
When we were talking about Kratos need to be more decisive with their ult usage, you know, maybe if they're just that efficient in the mid-fight, they can be a little willy-nilly with their ultimates. It's fun to watch either way. Speaking of fun to watch, we're going to have a pair of kills to open things up, one for each side, but it's Kratos missing their Moira, missing the large supply of healing that Moira provides, and therefore a lot of the sustain. Hybrid with a beautiful shot to take 6 feet out. We'll see if Doge can move in and take this point.
Right, I mean, even entry picks, but who was picked was more important. Even though Doge were not set up on the point after that first pick, the picks they were able to follow up with that, given the lack of healing and the intense damage provided by a damage-boosted Ashe on the high ground, I mean, really makes life easy for Doge to get this first capture. Also, look at how well Hybrid's been pocketed. Aspen and Hybrid both have their ultimates online already. Whereas Kratos are still struggling to bring up past a third of their support ultimates. So this could be the beginning of quite a snowball for Doge.
Good hook pulls Elivote into a lot of danger, but Bob there to bail him out. As the big Omnic Butler is just going to plant his feet, run Kratos away, not give them an opportunity to really get on the point like they'd like. Now Kratos is just kind of hiding in Mega Room, waiting for reinforcements to get back.
Yeah, simple enough to wait for the regroup here and try and make something happen, perhaps with this EMP. Get something. They at least get 2, but let's see if that turns into anything. Naga
gets taken out. Transcendence comes out from Fox's. Not in time to save Naga, but may keep the rest of the team alive and standing. Oh, Fox comes out of Transcendence just in time to get Pulse Bomb. Now it's going to be the Primal from Salieri on point. Scattering Kratos in all directions. Down into the pit goes Crawley.
Right, so Default thought he could get something done there with the with the EMP. That would be interesting. Sombra just saying, yeah, totally, embrace the Iris. I know what that means. But the EMP obviously does not get the Zenyatta, who is the most important component of that entire fight. The Transcendence completely nullifies the ultimate, and it gives Doge enough time to build up the tank ultimates, or rather, at least just the Primal that they really wanted to use there to stall things out, get a couple environmental kills, and of course I have cursed Salieri. He is now dead.
As he ate a big hook from Crawley there. But Hybrid getting a little revenge, finds one of their own. Back to a 5v5, but it's Kratos got their feet on this objective, looking to solidify the point. They do get the flip, seemingly for free. That was a very cheap flip there, Thibble. Now we're gonna get the self-destruct invested in.
Yeah,
I found one. Yeah.
Right, the picks themselves are good to start, but it also what matters is who they picked off to start.
Right.
Salieri is all of your front line. He is all of your shielding. And without that, you have to back away. And yes, the attempt at the re-engage is admirable, but ultimately not nearly enough to overcome the sort of brawling front line that Doge are bringing to bear here. Now, they don't necessarily have an ultimate advantage, but if they extend this fight long enough to build up 3 or 4 ultimates, which it looks like they're capable of doing if they're smart about it, this could go one way or another. Of course, I have absolutely cursed it once again. When will I learn my power?
It's Naga finding 3 before getting hooked and is able to avoid the final blow off the hook. Recalls out of there just in time. Hybrid there to take down. Crawley falls up a good kill out of Specs as well. The DPS duo showing up for Doge.
Oh, they've been insane. And I think Cratos heard me in the understanding of like, sure, we want to extend this fight and build ultimates, but they said, we shall do that by running directly at them and then getting killed by a tracer. So you really have to think like the aggression there is kind of biting them in the butt. Now Doge are at 99% with a decent brace of ults here to use. This could be pretty much over for Doge if they play this right.
Crawley's going to go ahead and throw down the whole hog in hopes of not letting that happen. 6 feet does have that sound barrier online. Cratos could be in a strong position to hold on to this thing. They're going to go ahead and throw down the sound barrier to block the Bob. That's going to prompt a Transcendence from Doge and allow the tanks to push in. Salieri and company trying to focus down the squishies, trying to focus on the supports, and that's going to prompt Salieri to pull out that whole hog, pull out the Primal Rage, keep working through the back. But meanwhile, on the point, Crawley is cleaning up. No one can get near this Roadhog without eating a face full of scrap. But Naga picks off the Moira and then falls up the kill onto Crawley. With Crawley down, this thing might just be falling apart for Cratos.
Right, Default trying to be so patient there with that EMP. He knows that he doesn't want to EMP and then just have it be transcended through. He tries to get the solo EMP onto Salieri, but they actually aren't able to focus him down before he can be unhacked, whatever the official word for that is, and activate his Primal Rage. Their plan was to solo EMP Salieri, burn him down, then Doge don't have their front line, and just like that, the fight a couple fights prior where they really just had to disengage because there was no frontline presence, they were hoping to do that again to recapture the point and buy themselves some more time. That said, the healing coming through from the Transcendence kept Salieri alive long enough that he could get his Primal Rage back, stall the fight out for reinforcements for Doge to come back, and win the round and win the map.
Salieri was just getting downright aggressive on the back of it. He had no cares in the world, just leaping into that back line to get the final bits of that Primal Rage and split Cratos in half. Fantastic play from Doge. Get him the 1-0 lead as we'll head into Junkertown for round number 2.
I love Junkertown. I mean, let's be real. I'm just a huge Overwatch fan. I'm just going to say that every map we go to, every stage we go to. I love Junkertown, just like I loved Sanctum, and just like I love Shrine, and just like blah, 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 blah. What's cool about Junkertown, yeah, you know, I'm a lover. You know, there needs to be more of that in this crazy year we're having. We need more lovers out there. Junkertown, though, I really like because it could play from a compositional standpoint very different than what we just saw on Nepal. There's plenty of room for double sniper play, double hit scan in general, maybe like a Reinhardt Sigma, more of like a speed boosty brawl comp. Plenty of room for more Sombra. It's traditionally one of her favored stomping grounds.
Yep.
In general, you never know what you're going to get here. We could get like Pirate Ship for all I know. It's kind of been out of vogue, but like some teams will try it and sometimes that works. And, you know, cheese abounds here in the Outback, irradiated as it is. So I'm very curious to see which one of these teams decides to kind of get a little crazy with it.
Are we going to get the irradiated cheese? That's the burning melted question here we're looking for on Junker. I mean, it is hot and arid there in Junkertown, so you know that cheese is going to be melted.
Oh yeah, very gooey.
Very gooey indeed.
I hate that word. I should not have said that. Yeah, we'll get some nice glowing fondue moving on here. I mean, there's so many options. I'm really, really curious to see, like, we're in a phase of the game right now where the meta is wide open. Yeah. And there are certainly compositions and heroes especially that are starting to step up or have continued to step up as front runners in terms of like, this hero is pretty good, and if you play them, you're probably going to be fine. So like Ashe, Roadhog, Tracer, Moira, etc. But there is still room. There is no hard line, this is the best. If you're not playing this, you're throwing type of composition. We are not in GOATs anymore and have not been for some time. So
Well,
it really brings back the old days of that rock, paper, scissors sort of dynamic.
right. And I think it also becomes more map dependent in this stage,
Mhm.
which is, by the way, one of my favorite stages of Overwatch is when we're in this in between and everybody's still kind of figuring things out. I love this part. I think this is when Overwatch is at its best because the creativity is abound. But on that note, do you think that the Sigma Reinhardt could have a place here? I worry that the Roadhog would just melt those shields. Reinhardt's shield just seems like tissue paper compared to Roadhog's scrap gun now. Do you think
Right.
the
I
shields could
mean,
still be viable?
it's tough. It's very hard to compare my plat rank games and try and find any sort of wisdom in them and go, will I see
I
this
feel that.
in contenders trials? The answer, probably not. Let's be real. But at the same time, I think there is room for it if you're very careful and very coordinated. The key with shields in this era, in this post barrier world where all the shields have been reduced to wet paper towels instead of whatever the heck they were made out of before, adamantium, I guess. Like the key
Sure.
now is to use them more carefully. It's to deploy them only when you need them, just to block the hook, just to block the pulse bomb, perhaps, and otherwise using natural cover and being fluid in your rotations and your engagement timings to get the most value out of those shields. Because if you just stand there and just hold right click as Reinhardt, yeah, you'll last an extra 2.5 seconds before you die, but that 2.5 seconds doesn't buy you much. If you parse out those shields and spread out their efficiency as much as possible, you can still get value out of them. Unless you're playing Orisa, she's dead. Please stop trying, especially the people in my rank games. Oh my god, it's
F and chat
insane.
for Orisa.
Please, please, I have dropped so much SR. Stop trying to play Orisa. Of course, if we see it here, they might just prove me wrong, and I might be subject to more torture for the next week in Plat, especially because it's the end of the season, and you know how that gets. But I don't think we'll see much of the horse. She is slow. She
No,
is weak. She is in the cupboard where she belongs after months of forced play.
she's had
Uh,
her time in the spotlight, Devil. It's
More than
okay.
enough. More
It's
than
okay.
enough. Please make the bad horse lady go away.
Orisa Main's out there mauling right now.
Yes,
You know?
that's me. That's me. I'm the Arista main that's molding. Please make the bad horse lady go away. I want to play off tanks. I've never been able to do this before. It's
I
crazy.
it I like it a lot, actually. I've been playing a lot of Zarya. I'm traditionally a main tank player myself, so I've actually
Mhm.
gotten to pick up Zarya in the recent weeks. And it has been fun. It has been fun. I spent a week, mauling myself that main tanks were dead, and then I just embraced the Zarya.
It's like a Stockholm syndrome because I did the exact same thing. I was like, man, I cannot play Reinhardt or Orisa right now. I'm literally throwing. I am tossing my SR in the trash. I'm so mad. I love playing these guys. And then I realized, wait, no, I don't. I've just been forced to lock Reinhardt every time the other tank immediately locks Wrecking Ball on Havana or something. I'm like, well, we need a shield. I have to play it. But now you don't. And it's crazy. Ooh, look at this, though. While we've been mauling about ranked, their Doge over here are playing some sneaky forward rotations. I love this.
Yeah, hybrid with a very aggressive posturing. Defensive Widow sitting this close it's not something I've seen very often, if at all.
No, this is a great angle, too. I love this. He can just hang out there and back away as soon as there's any danger. And you can tell Cratos are really trying to figure out what the heck they're going to do here. They do not know how to make this rotation just yet. And they're talking it out in real time. Let's see if they get anything done with it. Oh, never mind.
Oh no, Alexio gets taken out early, but they do find Salieri. So once they're on back on the playing field, they should be able to push forward, assuming they can get past hybrid.
Right. I mean, the angle he's holding is just so oppressive. And Doge are just using so much cover. The May here to add some extra beef to that wet paper towel of a Reinhardt shield that we were talking about. This is perfect. The res coming through. Oh, some picks now coming through.
Yeah, Specs and Ultima finding some room on the attacker's right-hand side. Able to get a couple kills there. Alexio getting into the mix, finding some revenge. Honest don't like being killed. Grandma getting angry. Cratos getting out the door.
Somewhere out there, Doa's ears just perked up and he said, a bloodthirsty support. He's drinking the blood. Alexio coming out with a great first pick there. And in general, I mean, fairly inevitable, you can assume, for Cratos to start getting picks and making their way out the door. But the important part of Doge's first stand there right in front of spawn is that it gives them time to fully regroup and go for at least one more recontest.
Not to mention the 90 seconds they ate off the clock in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
Gravitic Flux coming out from Cratos to try to open this thing up. Bob thrown into the mix as well. But both supports are dead. And there's a chance they might be able to push this. It's close. Are they going to frag out? Cry's already found one. Ultimate Weapon's in the back trying to take down the Moira. But the healing orb there for the self-heals. And Ultimate Weapon's going to go ahead and leave that fight. Live to fight another day.
Right, Hybrid's just getting such great angles here. I mean, Junkertown, first especially, has always been a point where a Widow can really run rampant. So Cratos have to be very careful about how they approach this, because Hybrid will just keep taking their heads off. He has no problem standing back and doing all that long-range damage. So they have to think about their rotations here, about getting the most value out of their shields. But the wall rotation onto the high ground here, oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Croy never saw what hit him. Did anybody get the number of that truck? Well, then that was a Doge license plate right across the front, now splattered on Croy's forehead.
My goodness, that was... That brings me back to Meta Athena in Apex, using the Maywall to rotate around on the left side of Dorado. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look that up. It was a formative play in Overwatch history, and I think Doge may have just recreated that moment here on Junkertown. I have never seen that before, but it was such an effective rotation, instantly catching them off guard and instantly providing tons of front-loaded damage.
Now Crawley's going to get the nano boost, but Specs goes down early, pushing in a man down. Bow support ults on the playing field for Cratos. Can they make something of it? Rez somehow gets off. I thought Elevate was going to pick up that Mercy kill. It's narrowly 6 feet, getting the important 6-man back into battle, and Croy takes down a Fox. No more Moira. Main supply of heals missing here for Doge. So they're going to go ahead and invest the Blizzard, hold Cratos back for the moment. Specs, Gravitic Flux finds one in the hook. We'll take Elivote out of the fight. The tanks eventually persevering and getting this cart through to the backup point.
That Blizzard from Naga was, let's just say, it's not going to end up in any top 10 montages. I get what he was going for. He assumed, of course, that Kratos were going to push up onto the cart and try and cap it. But they just kind of backed up, and there goes that ultimate.
Ooh, that was an interesting narrow miss from Salieri. He got pushed around Specs' shield and nearly landed the Earth Shatter. But alas, it was all for naught. And it was Salieri himself who ended up back in spawn. But the rest of Doge starting to frag out of the back of this. Excuse me, is Cratos fragging out of the back of this as Cry comes up with a pair of kills. They'll finally get that cart in the door. But it took them until overtime to get it done.
Right. I mean, great defense is still coming out from Doge. Naga on the Mei has been, frankly, a revelation, both because of that wacky high ground rotation and just because he's been hitting his icicles, getting great value out of walls, really shaping the battlefield. But Cratos are no slouches either still. This is still pretty close. Obviously, the time bank much lower than Doge would have liked. I want to shout out 6 Feet, who has been getting some ridiculous resurrections that, frankly, he should not be getting away with at this level of play. And it's really kept Cratos in some key fights.
Yeah, that last one on Specs was huge. I was surprised that that one was successful myself.
Right, yeah, the last couple.
Yeah. Interesting positioning here from Doge's tanks. I'm kind of curious what the plan is. Okay, their plan is just converge on Specs, who's now literal one, falls back into some safety. As 6 Feet pops in that Valkyrie to keep the tanks alive. Nano Boost was out. That's going to fade without much value. Aspen does fall. Oh, and Ultima's going to pick up the kill on Naga as well. 2-man advantage here for Cratos on the back of point B, as the Gravitic Flux comes in to seal the deal.
Right, I mean, Cratos just holding strong through there. I understand what Salieri and Elivote were trying for, but I think trying to isolate the Sigma, who has access to a Mercy Pocket, is not going to be as effective as they might like. Maybe going for the Ana or the Sombra, even if they can find her, might be more consistent dive targets. Because they are running, of course, a modern variation, but a relatively classic style dive. A Winston Diva with a Tracer, Zen, and a Mercy. They're focused on isolating one target, maximizing the damage onto that target in a shorter period of time, taking them out, and moving on with a man advantage. But targeting a tank for that is traditionally not the wave, as it were, so they're going to have to kind of rethink their approach to this.
Yeah, once again, Salieri's going to go challenge Crawley, and that was a bad idea. Eats a hook and a scrap gun to the dome. Immediately deleted. And immediately a one-man advantage for Cratos here with 2 minutes on the clock. And EMP whole hog ready to go. Nano Boost not far behind. Bob coming out from the defense to try to stall out the card a little bit. As the pulse bomb comes through from Naga, that's going to assist in taking Crawley down, doing a massive chunk of damage. Hybrid getting in the mix, taking down Alexia with Bob even doing some work.
Right. I mean, not the greatest start. I was just going to make the point about how the one target you really don't want to dive even less than a Sigma is a Roadhog, and then Salieri goes for it anyways. But Doge managed to recover pretty well there. I liked especially the pincer move of having Bob towards the front and then a pulse bomb in the back. Like, are you going to get shot by Bob or are you going to get blown up by a pulse bomb? Make your choice. Either way, you're going to die. So Cratos there kind of forced into a bad spot. That said, fairly even on ultimates. The key difference being that Doge have both support and both tank ultimates, whereas 6 feet is very far away from that sound barrier, and Specs is about as far from that Diva Bomb. So they'll have to see if they can get value off this EMP, but the Transcendence is huge from AFox.
Yes, Default is not able to get AFox. Perfect positioning and a perfect Transcendence. Ultimate Web gets their Pulse Bomb eaten as well. That's 2 ultimates down, and Ultimate Web themselves fall. Half of Cratos are now back in spawn, and that's going to be a reset from the attacking team.
AFox has probably practiced that move about 18,000 times at this point. He is an extreme veteran of multiple regions, always been playing at pretty much the top tier available to him. So when a Sombra pops up directly in front of him, he knows what's going on. He hits the Transcendence easy as you like, and that fight goes super smooth for Doge.
Now just one last chance for Cratos to make something happen. They've got a whole hog to work with. That's about it. 6 feet needs to stay alive long enough to get this sound barrier up. No, Naga gets the D-Mech and subsequent kill with the Pulse Bomb. Oh, that's going to take down Croy. Hog's missing. The big frontline sustain not there for Cratos, which means there's nobody to hold down in this cart. It's desperation time for the attacking team, but this is all Doge on the back end.
Yeah, this is what we call a GR, for sure. Doge, I mean, just coming alive in those last couple fights, really finding their footing here. Great high ground control, great frags coming out from everyone. Including AFox, who I must shout out again. It's in my contract. He's just insane. His Ana and his Zen have always been really on another level. He's one of those players where, at this point, I'm just like, why is he not in the Overwatch League? Because he's just going to sit here and smurf on anybody until someone signs him. So overall, comprehensively great last section there from Doge. They really just set up well and knew what they had to do.
Doge more than happy to take full advantage of AFox's talents here.
Mm-hmm.
And we were starting to talk about it earlier, but Doge kind of ran into a tough season in Contenders month of August as they went up against both the eventual first and second place seeds early on in the tournament and got relegated here to trials. But man, they seem angry. They seem ready to come back and claim their throne, Thibble.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I don't think it would be a huge stretch to say that these guys are almost guaranteed. I am please asking the caster curse gods not to mess with me there. I'm going to lock them in for a Contender's berth just right away, just because I have that much faith in them. They have consistently been playing at that level since they came into existence. And when that first iteration of Envy came around with Salieri and everyone on it, I was not very high on them. But since then, they have drastically exceeded my expectations, and I have no doubt they'll continue to do well here. That said, Cratos, at the very least, are making this challenging. We've got a bit of a Widow duel starting up here between Hybrid and Default.
Yeah, Cratos got second place in August trials. They are no slouches in their own right, and I expect a strong performance from them this week as well. Taken out of the defense, hoping that push will be enough for them to tie up this series. So far, neither Widowmaker finding much just yet.
Right. I mean, and close all the way through.
Able to get that take a breather off. Tried to respond in kind, but the hook not quite landing as the team's now approaching the big quarter. This fight should start getting well underway. Default does find a pick, but goes down. Ultimate drops as well. So Cratos missing both DPS. Res available will be used on Default, but along the way, both supports get punished, and that means no more healing left for Cratos, no more staying power.
Right. I mean, the front line goes down. Naga doing such a good job of applying pressure onto the snipers to give that much more of a damage advantage coming through, because when you can deny the enemy Widowmaker the sight lines and the time they need to set up their shots and get those kills, you're effectively almost fighting a 5v6 right out the gate.
Don't let him get comfortable. Otherwise, they'll do things like that. Hybrid clicking heads, finds 2. Default never even saw it coming. Holy cow.
I mean, what can you even say about what is there to analyze about that? My man clicked the heads. He did what he was trained to do. You come up on the flank like that, right? Exactly. All you can do is just bow to the man. There's nothing to be said. He walks up, you die. And like you said, I mean, Default literally never even saw him coming. He had such a great rotation there. The stick coming out from Naga as well. Oh, man.
Oh, Naga! Doing him dirty! Oh!
Elephant.
Ultimate Web does respond in kind, landing a pulse bomb onto the counterpart Mercy. Aspen now back in spawn with Valkyrie in hand. But Salieri putting so much pressure down. They're just gallivanting right above point B here. Cratos seem to have a leg to stand on.
Right, I mean, they're getting a couple picks and they're looking for this last-minute rotation, but so much progress gained. This time bank is huge for Doge. I'm very curious to see what Elivote was tweeting from the cart, because, man.
Default winning the sniper duel there and falls into the good headshot onto A Fox. Willing to prove his worth. Finds a 3K for Default on the Widowmaker. Looking for more. Can he find Naga? No, Naga's going to run away. It's turning the attention down onto Elivote, onto the Sigma. Shield gets put up, and Hybrid returns to take off Default's head.
No, that was 2 teams just not paying enough attention. The rotation comes out from the top right side from the attacker's perspective from Cratos. They rotate onto the point. Everyone focuses on the big front line making their way to the cart, and they forget the Default is there. He scores 2 quick kills. Then he moves forward, sees that there's nothing more to be had, turns around, walks away in a nice, easy, straight line, and down he goes too. Now Naga is wreaking havoc in the backline. Oh my goodness.
Already found this in. Can he get the Mercy? No! 6 feet! Gets the kill with the blaster with just a speck of health left. Crawley's gonna go ahead and drop that whole hog, but Transcendence available. A Fox doing a great job. Pulling that ultimate at just the right time. Gravitic Flux gets nothing on the cart. But Elivote was able to take out Crawley nevertheless and get this cart into the back of point B.
Yeah, they might want that flux back, but overall, it's not the hugest commitment from them. Just the Transcendence, which they definitely needed to survive the whole hog in a very small hallway. And now they've got, I mean, look at the time bank and look where the green box of victory is here. That's really all you need to know. Like, one good fight wins this for Doge and puts them up. Like, and they've got 2 big ultimates coming online and a Valkyrie not far behind. The Transcendence from Alexio is going to have to be huge, and you're going to have to hope that doesn't happen to Default. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, info sites have been used. Hybrid knew exactly where to look for Default. That does get the res out. But good news for Cratos is they're back at a 6-man defense. Oh, I spoke too soon. Crawley gets taken out. The Transcendence is late, and Default once again loses the Widow duel. Fox does go down, but the rest of the kills all Doge. Specs is going to try to throw in a last-minute Gravitic Flux. Will it be enough to bring this back? It's going to find 1, and the Kinetic Grasp there to soak up that whole hog. That'll put Specs in a ton of hell. Oh, he doesn't get it! He doesn't finish the animation to get the massive amount of shielding. Naga picks him off. The box is there. Doge taking a 2-0 lead.
And that was Kratos thinking they had a little more time than they did to get back to the point, and then sending someone in just to start the contention, and then that person getting kicked off. And then like, oh no, okay, we need to Transcendence right now because they're just about to finish the map without us, and we don't want a C9. But then you start with a Transcendence earlier than you like. Obviously, a Transcendence does not stop your head from getting a bullet drilled through it. And in general, that was just a great, clean fight coming out from Doge. Even at the end there, you were talking about the massive amount of shielding for Specs that might have given him a little more time to hold out the stall. But Salieri, when he activated Whole Hog, as soon as he saw the kinetic grasp come out from Specs, he pointed his scrap gun at the ground. Because he was like, no, I'm not giving you all this ridiculous amount of shielding. I don't want you with 1,400 health. I want you with 0 health. So I'm going to sit here and look at the ground and just be really mad at it. There's, a bug that was biting my shoe or something, and I really want to take that out because I don't want you to have all that shit.
Those Australian spiders are huge, man. I would have whole hogged one of those Australian spiders as well. Like, no shame, no shame.
Why do you think he learned how to do that? It's the giant red-kneed tarantulas that come up to your freaking thigh. And it's like, no. I need to literally turn you into like red mist. I need that to not exist, especially because they're irradiated. They're probably like 8 feet tall and,
Yeah, they have
glowing green.
16 eyes or something
Yeah,
ridiculous. Like
exactly.
it's just nutty. It's just
Something
nutty.
out of Futurama. I don't
That's
know.
it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. All right, well, Kratos struggling here, down 0-2 in our opening game of NA Trials. We're gonna take a short break. Can Kratos bounce back? Put a point on the board? Well, we'll find out when we return. Welcome back, my friends. We are here for the second half of our match between Doge and Cratos in our first day of NA Contenders trials for September's. For September's? September's is plural now, Thibble, in case you didn't know.
All the
All
Septembers.
the September's.
This is trials for every month of September for the rest of
That has
time.
ever
These
been.
standings will be used forever. So I better hope these guys are bringing their A game. Kratos are going to need to bring it back if they want to have any luck in the 9th month of any year for the rest of their life.
For the rest of time. Well, Kratos are looking to get their first map win since their trials run. Hoping Temple of Anubis will be the place where they can turn it around, as they got 2-0'd through August trials and now are staring down the barrel of a 2-0 against Doge. Doge looking to complete the clean sweep as we head to Assault.
Right, and it's rough too because Kratos have really just been playing against some ridiculously strong teams. They're playing against teams like Drifters. They're playing against a team like Doge, who are fantastic. Just a collection of Overwatch League level players, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
But to be fair, despite the scoreline, this is going to be one of those games, right? It might be a 3-0 or a 3-1 or whatever. This might even go to map 5. I don't want to jinx anything. But all the maps have been crazy close. Some really good fights, some really strong trading of picks and ultimates and cancellations and all this stuff. So this is not a blowout, which is great. It makes for some very entertaining Overwatch to cast for you and I. But that said, Kratos won't walk away from this happy that the maps were close. They'll walk away happy if they win. So they need to hit that slight bit more. Because otherwise, I mean, as close as these maps are, it's going to be a 3-0 on the records, man. There's no difference between a blowout and a 3-0 where, okay, well, we put up a fight. Like, they want to win. So these guys need to turn it around here on Anubis. That said, plenty of opportunity. It's a very flexible map. You could see a lot more niche picks. We were seeing them already over on Junkertown, which stylistically is very distinct. But 2CP brings its own set of opportunities and challenges. We all know about 2CP LOL and all of its various iterations throughout the history of the game. So we'll just have to see, like maybe they come out with a Junkrat or a Sim or more Widow. I mean, that's still effective on Anubis.
You bet.
So yeah, there's tons of options here for Kratos, but they're just missing a little spark to really get them over the hump.
We've seen some good coordination, especially in the mid fight. Craw has been doing a lot of work. One of the initial points that you made in decisiveness with their ultimates.
Right. I mean, the communication clearly has been on a pretty high level for both of these teams. There haven't been a lot of like, whoa, they didn't need that. Like maybe one or two, which is another way that Kratos perhaps could level up that tiny bit. But it's never been so egregious that it's like, okay, this is obviously why Kratos are really lagging behind. It's because they keep pressing Q and spawn and stuff like that. There's no Custas on this team, which, thank goodness. So the interesting thing, though, now is that we got a bit of a side swap up. We've got, like I said, some new opportunities on a map like Temple of Anubis, compositionally, rotation. There's all sorts of different things that could end up happening here. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens.
The DPS duo of Hybrid and Naga have been outstanding all day long, and I think really have given Doge the edge, who are going to start us off on the attack, which I believe that was their choice, if I'm not mistaken. After winning the last map, Doge have chosen to assault first, and I like the brass. I like the confidence it takes to go on attack first.
Right, they're confident. Maybe they have a set strategy in mind here as they start out their rotation on the left side. Another classic style dive composition with the Ashe and the Mercy instead. Lots of long-range damage capabilities and short-range diving brawl capability as they get their engage on.
Kratos is taking a bit of a scattered approach here, leaving just the Sigma on center platform. He quickly gets chased back to the objective. Now the dive tank's going to take over the high ground. Force default off of that advantageous position and just doing a good job of corralling Cratos and the defense, who are now clumped up on the back of the objective, awaiting the DPS like, nah, gotta move in and get the kill.
Right. I mean, such a great engage psychologically coming out from Doge. Like, they didn't score a super early pick or anything like that, but the sheer presence provided by the dive tanks up front and the Ashe in the back with the Mercy boost and the very fluid movement of the Tracer providing a little extra pressure on the point means that this fight is done and dusted as if they had just walked up and killed all 6 in a straight line. But
I'm taking
really,
notes on that one, Fibble. That was
exactly.
textbook.
Right. And I mean, it's the thing is that they didn't win that, like I said, off of sheer picks or brute force. They won it off of smart positioning and methodical movement forward. And Kratos had no choice but to back up. Otherwise, they definitely would have just fed their lot to the soup kitchen, as it were.
Specs making the swap over to the D.Va, coming off of the Sigma here for the defense. Ultimate Web goes down early. And now Kratos making their slow, methodical approach on the point. Valkyrie used, Transcendence in the pocket. Pulse Bomb goes out. Didn't quite find anything, but it doesn't matter. Naga's able to get the kills with the twin blasters. And now this point just belongs to Doge. 2 takes picked up. Kratos, you gotta get out of here and touch. Ball's coming back to try to stall this thing out. Crawley and Specs get on the point just in the nick of time. Crawley's gonna get Specs gets demacked very quickly. And Fox goes down holding the Transcendence. Disastrous turn of events for Kratos as they try to push on to this point. Now 6 feet fragging back, default able to get the kill onto Naga. Oh, but they don't touch!
Oh no. Okay. Let's all just take a moment.
I'm stunned. They were winning that fight, They were winning that fight.
Okay, moment of silence done for me. That was... Ooh, man. I definitely cursed them again because I was like, there haven't been any egregious errors from Kratos. It's just been a really close game. And wow, if we want to talk about egregious errors, let's go over that one. So obviously, Doge, we talked him up. Great first push, very methodical, very smart, fantastic rotations all the way through. Really nothing Kratos could do there short of dying quicker on the point, right? They come into second point. Doge are making another great engagement overall, but start to kind of get pushed back. Like you said, losing the dying with Transcendence, that's a big one. Could have kept a couple people alive. Not a huge amount of value off the Primal for Salieri. In general, looked like a fight, especially in the last 2 seconds as Default started getting some picks and Ultimate Weapon started getting back on point with the tanks. Definitely a fight okay, Doge, excuse me, just back up. It's fine. You've got 5 minutes. Go again. Build up some ults. Take another 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. Come back. Take this point easily enough, given the level they've been playing this map so far. Instead, Kratos we have what we have.
Yeah, Kratos decided, we don't need the whole point.
It's fine.
So they're just lulling him into some false confidence. Give him a big time bank, and then they're going to let their guard down, and Kratos is going to come back and put up an equally large time bank. That's what they're hoping. That's what they're hoping at this point.
Man, are they going to try and sell me a house, too? Oh, man, this is a rough spot. If I'm Kratos, I'm boomed right now. This is one of those moments where you don't even try and, find a positive. You just go, all right, guys, that sucked. That was dumb. We're dumb. Move on. We're not going to fix it now. You just have to, that's an L that you must take. And now Doge are setting up on their defense fairly strong. I mean, certainly not lights out or anything. It was just one push there that we just saw. But overall, they're, in addition to the sheer mechanical skill of Doge that they must overcome, they have to get over their own boomed mentals to keep this game even close to winnable.
And you could see him still reeling in that first engagement. They seemed a little lost as they attacked that first time. They need to regain their senses and get a nice concerted push here. Looks like they're going to try to attack the high ground to start. Push off the Ada and the D.Va that are up there. Salieri comes to join him, gets the nano boost. That's going to force Kratos to fall back. Salieri does eventually go down. But Alexio falls along the way. Res available. Oh no! Res gets interrupted by Hybrid! And that means both healers now gone.
Default
trying to frag their way back into this thing. Perhaps buy a small room for power play. Oh, but Crawley goes down late.
Yeah, two back and forth there. Ultimately, Ultima Wep doing some work there, trying to get on point, force a rotation onto the point as the Bob comes out here from default. But ultimately, too many late picks, especially from Crowley, who is such a crucial frontline presence. That said, Alexio and default are starting up this push again. It's looking pretty good for Cratos.
Yeah, picking off Avox early is a good start. We're getting self-destruct in, Valkyrie used. Oh, the stick on to Elimo as he's in pilot form. That's a great play from Ultima Web.
Oh, the res in the pick, though.
2 ticks picked up. Are we going to get a contest on the back? It does appear Naga's going to push on a point, but it was just a momentary stall.
And look at the time banks. I mean, ooh, Cratos really want that first push back. God, so badly. Because even now, even if they walk in right now and cap the point, which would be amazing and very impressive, they are still going to be at minimum like a minute and a half behind in terms of time bank. They have a good brace of ultimates coming online, 5 in fact, against the 2 and maybe a nano boost for Doge, but they have to get tremendous value out of pretty much all of them because this is 2 CP, and if you don't win the fight clean, you don't win the fight.
And they gotta avoid this EMP, and Alexio cannot, gets hacked, cannot get the Transcendence off. Default falls shortly thereafter. Naga winning that fight with 1 press of the Q.
At the very least, I'm doing what I can here to bring some shred of positivity for all the boomed Cratos fans out there. At the very least, they only used 2 ultimates and then built up a pulse bomb. So they still have the Transcendence, they still have the tank ults, they do not have the Valkyrie or the Bob, but you know what, who needs them? Who needs them? It's fine. They pulled out the EMP, that's the game breaker anyways. Just get in there on this next one. Hope that you don't get much value out of the Nano or the Primal from Doge. And this is still winnable, especially with a pick like that from default.
Exactly what Cratos needs, but now Salieri getting in deep. He's going to go ahead and pop the Primal Rage just to stay alive. This is actually a great place for Cratos to be. They managed to keep default in the fight and get the big ultimate out. Nano boost thrown onto Salieri as well. Default with the pick onto Aspimid. Oh, 6 feet goes down. Means no more res available and only Alexio for heals. As they had this window of opportunity, but now I think they're going to be forced to reset, especially with the 2 kills coming from the big Omnic Butler.
Yeah, that's a rough one. There's not really a positive to be pulled from that one like I tried with the last one. 6 feet going down pretty early there, despite the somewhat man advantage. Of course, 2 CP spawns always make that a little more tricky. It really just kind of nipped things in the bud for Cratos. Now we have some swaps coming through, more of a brawl speed, post goats coming out. Of course, anything with a Lucio Moira these days people call goats, so I might as well jump on the train. The EMP though is going to deny anything, especially the self-destruct that Specs was probably looking to engage with. Hybrid and Naga just getting the picks to start, and even if Ultima Wep gets the pick onto Naga, this is nothing. In 2 CP you must win the fight decisively on the point to win. A pick out in front of the gates does nothing for you unless you can move forward as 6. So these guys really need to be a little more decisive and not get picked coming out, or their already dwindling time bank will be reduced to nothing. And frankly, this series could be over.
Yeah, Naga hitting the perfect targets with that EMP, and Hybrid hitting domes with that Viper. Takes Ultima Wep out early. Alexio is gonna fall once again. Doge winning the fight before it even really begins.
As soon as Hybrid got that pick, my head was in my hands. That is exactly what they need to not do. I don't know if they need to prioritize keeping Specs alive so that the Matrix can get them through these open sight lines that Hybrid is running rampant with. I don't know if they're hoping that the fade into Coalescence after EMP will keep them alive more effectively than a Transcendence might. It just looks like Cratos are really struggling with even where to begin on this second point engagement. And frankly, obviously the picks don't make that any easier, but they really need to get this figured out now. This is their last chance.
And now they're fighting a real uphill battle. 5 ultimates online, 3 of them out immediately. Self-destruct, Valk, and Nano Boost used. Nano Boost was onto Salieri. And Ultra Wep goes down when it's all said and done. Cratos have moved the remainder of their attack force onto the objective. Oh, and Aspen gets hooked out of the sky and deleted, but meanwhile, Salieri and Hybrid combining for 3 kills. Salieri is going to go ahead and take down Specs as well. Crawley's going to fall. 20 seconds on the clock, and Cratos looking as lost as ever.
Right, and Specs is going to get staggered here. This is
Oh, it's dirty.
he's not escaping this. He's going to try and just bomb to get something, but he gets hacked in Baby Diva, so he can't even remech after that just yet. He goes down.
6 feet. 6 feet was desperately trying to go save him. Valiant attempt, my friend. Valiant attempt indeed. But now you've got the Nano on the Elevote. He's going to push in on the Diva, try to clean up, does get Ultima. Salieri's pops the Primal Rage to help clean off the objective here in the overtime. As Doge are moments away from winning this thing 3-0, they will take Anubis and the clean 3-0 sweep to start their week of NA trials.
Yeah, I mean, great start for Doge. Cratos, they had the right ideas to start, right? They had the pot, they had the water, it was salty like the sea. You add the spaghetti, then you spill it all over the floor at the end there. It's unfortunate, really, because that would have been a great dinner. You know, like in a different world, in a different reality that Doctor Strange is explaining to Iron Man, perhaps Kratos turned that what was looking like a reasonable hold on second point of their defense into a longer hold. And or maybe even a full just 1 point on the board for Doge. In which case Anubis could have even been drawable or winnable, whatever, just enough to keep them in the fight, long enough to start bringing it back. Instead, we got what we got. That was an unfortunate moment for them, for sure. Definitely, I suppose it's funny if you're a neutral party. You're just like, C9s are always great. They always make me laugh. But if you're a fan of Kratos or playing for Kratos, that's definitely not how you wanted that last map to go. They would love to have that one back for sure, but what they get is what they got.
Yeah, and unfortunately what they got was an 0-3 loss. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but we're going to come back with an interview from one of the members of Doge. Do we know who we're pulling in yet, producers? Okay, we don't quite have a word of what player we're going to get, but we're going to be back with somebody from the winning team to discuss that 3-0 sweep. So we see you in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. I'm sitting here with egg on my face is unfortunately we do not have an interview here for you tonight. We'll get it for you next time. But we do have some score updates from around trials. Double, what else was happening around the league here while we were casting this match?
Yeah, so we don't have all of them just yet, but I've got a few. So obviously, we just finished up a 3-0 there for Team Doge versus Cratos. Don't need to tell you that one if you've been paying any attention. Tier 2 drama alert, the Pub Stomp squad that always pops up, there's always one, have 3-0'd Revival. Malibu have 3-0'd Triumph, my former team, rest in peace. Slept On have 3-0'd Lunaris as well. So a bit of a 3 Overwatch kind of day. I'm not sure how close any of those were, but we'll see if the teams that got O'd can rebound or if the teams that got 3'd can keep their streak going.
Well, I know ours certainly. The 3-0 is not indicative of how close the match really was.
Exactly.
Anubis got a bit one-sided, but Nepal and Junkertown were extremely good maps. We're very close. I'm sure Cratos will be able to bounce back. But we'll be keeping an eye on these teams as Trials Week continues all week long here on Elo Hill Esports. We hope to see y'all throughout the rest of the week, but for now, this has been Volskunk at Double Dork signing off. Y'all look out for each other in game and out, and we'll see you next time.
Sport Tier 2.
Peguei da minha unha.